In the following video, we're going to listen to Glenn Beck making some very powerful remarks concerning the indictment that Mr. Trump is currently facing.
Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding.
Well, there you have it. Donald Trump has been indicted not once, not twice, but 3 times in this year alone. For context, before April, no former president had ever been indicted. But what can I say? I mean, Trump clearly deserved it. He's committed the gravest sin known to man. He questioned the 2020 election. And as we all know, that was the most secure election of all time. And if you dare say otherwise, you're mentally insane and probably should be locked up or at least removed from society as quickly as possible. That's been the left's narrative for almost 3 years now. Obey or else. Well, that's usually a good indicator that we should not obey. So tonight, we're going to look at the facts about the 2020 election, from mail-in ballots to election security to, dare I say it, the deep state. Because the left has been building an election-winning machine for years now. It took it out for a test drive in 2020, and it's working hard to perfect it by 2024. Because once this Death Star is fully operational, we may never win another election again. But it is equally as important that we do not lose hope. There is still a way to return the electoral system to its factory settings, and it starts with exposing what we're up against. Tonight, the deep state plans for the 2024 election. Hello from the Mountain West and my home at Standing Rock Ranch. America, there is a psyop going on right now in this country, and you are the target. It just might be the most dangerous thing in the country right now. Why? Well, because it attacks your mind. It diminishes your ability to ask questions and ultimately hold those in power accountable for what they're doing. Have you ever heard of the phrase blackpilling? It is defined, quote, as a mindset characterized by extreme pessimism, cynicism, and futility. In short, it's what a lot of Americans are doing. Screw it. Why bother? I don't watch the news anymore. I don't pay attention because I can't change anything. That is the psyop. This is what we have to resist, because if we don't, we may not only never win another election again, we will lose our freedom. And that there is one of the biggest things that we're being blackpilled on. You're not going to save the country, and you're not going to win. When it comes to this next election in 2024, how hopeful are you? Do you believe we can win? That's one of the biggest questions we're not supposed to ask. You and I know there was something funny going on in the 2020 election. I don't know if it was enough to sway the winner and cast Donald Trump as the loser. I don't know, but nobody looked into it. We know that there is something weird going on in the last election, and we know there's something weird going down on January 6th. We know something odd is happening with the Biden crime family, right? I mean, it's pretty clear. And we know that the deep state has been actively involved in just, well, all of it, everything I just mentioned. Now, the left and the deep state are not synonymous, but they certainly have a lot of parallel motives going on right now. And you can tell what those motives are by everything you are currently being blackpilled on. The next election is the biggest.
Yeah, recently I've done some research on the deep state, some of the things that they are up to. And when you hear deep state, you can simply put it this way. These are the moneyed men who have so much power and influence over culture that they can also dictate which political person is elected they can buy politicians, and they can fund whatever activist or movement that they want to bring about whatever it is that they want in the culture. Don't look too hard. Look at Black Rocks, look at Vanguards, look at who some of these men are. George Soros, part of their perspective, their view, their goal for this country, and you will begin to see it. Now, there's also a religious movement behind some of this stuff as well. We can talk some more about that. Let's keep going.
Tonight, I'm going to show you some of the election funny business both the left and the deep state have been up to. It's a machine that they have been preparing for years. COVID brought it all together, but now they are doubling down. So what are we doing about it? And what am I even talking about here? There is no deep state, right? That's a conspiracy theory. That's an online black op itself. It definitely doesn't exist, and it isn't manipulating elections. It's just a coincidence that the entire intelligence community, the federal law enforcement community, all rallied together to accuse candidate Donald Trump of being in league with Russia. Once that didn't work, they just pressed in on the attempt to cripple his presidency. And that's just a coincidence. There is no deep state. They then impeached him, not once, but twice, even going as far as leaking top secret communications from his presidential phone calls with foreign leaders. The people involved came from the State Department, the FBI, the CIA, the Department of Justice, and members of both the Democrat and Republican parties. And they all used the mainstream media to further push public opinion.
Don't you remember the time when the mainstream media used to be against the establishment? It seems now, especially the left side of the mainstream media, they themselves have either married or in bed with the establishment, that they are protecting their character in places that really, I'm like, how did it get this bad? Because you guys used to be the ones warning us against what the establishment was about, and holding them accountable, asking the difficult questions. But today, they are just simply cheerleaders for the establishment.
It was all lies, we know now, but there is no deep state. It just happened. And then, as the election went into full gear, members of all of those government agencies, along with the media and now big tech, conspired to keep damaging information about Joe Biden and his son away from people like you and me. Don't ask any questions, just accept it. But it was just a coincidence, except we have all the evidence now. It's out in the open. But no. It was a coincidence. Kind of like how the ensuing election was probably the most unprecedented in American history. Laws were being bent. New ones were being prepped. Nearly the entire electoral process was changed in the middle of the pandemic. But don't ask any questions about any of that or the pandemic. You accept it. You say the pandemic came from some animal we've never found, and the election, it was the most secure election, quote, in history. How do you possibly say that with a straight face? Vox says that even Trump's own people admit this. Really? The Associated Press says officials say this. And then the left-leaning Brennan Center declared, it's official. The election was secure. Whew. Well, I feel better. I'm ready to accept it. Sure, it sounds ridiculous, but why would they lie to us? Yeah, they sound ridiculous, just like the claims that there is a deep state, right? Don't you dare ask questions about the election.
He's good.
And it was just the same with COVID, except the medical industry. All of these giant corporations that the left has never trusted, now suddenly trust them with your own life. Don't even look into what Fauci was doing in the Wuhan lab and all of the experiments. No. That obviously had nothing to do with the funding and the development of this. Take the vax. No Questions Act. Take another one. And while you're at it, take 5 more. Wear your mask, stay indoors, stay off a plane, and don't ask any questions, except the fact that there is no deep state. Believe that as multiple federal law enforcement agencies were clearly involved on January 6th, pipe bombs were planted, but federal law enforcement won't say by whom. They don't even know. We have face tracking software everywhere, and we just can't find any of these guys. We have a picture of their face. We can't find them. DOJ promised shock and awe to frighten the public, and then they went after thousands. Shock and awe. Those are not my words. They're their words. They were said by the Department of Justice as they hunted down old ladies and grandparents. Are you scared yet? Well, you shouldn't be, because
makes no sense. We get old lady and grandparents in trouble. They had to pay the price for supposedly the insurrection. But we can't get like these supposed officials, these individuals that were involved, that were riling the crowd. We're not supposed to talk about them. Ray Epps and all these people. It does appear from other videos that I have watched that they were, the 3-letter agencies had different operative. Yeah, they were really instigating things to turn this thing into a whole nother, it's very obvious, man. I did do a video about Joe Rogan talking about that. I think he was talking to Gem Graffiti or Gaffity, and he was talking about how the FBI and the DOJ, they've been doing a lot of that. They have these different operatives that are working to instigate certain things, to create certain trouble, and then they can turn around and condemn it or blame a particular group of people for that. And that gives them the justification to do and go after whoever they have an issue with.
There is no deep state. You should just ignore some of these little inconvenient facts, like how the DOJ hamstrung the investigation into Hunter Biden. You should forget the fact that the FBI tried to hide one of their own reports that said the current president was possibly involved in a bribery scheme with a foreign country. Forget the fact that the current puppet-in-chief's main political opponent, now, after 3 years, has been indicted 3 times. And I'm sure they've got another one coming sometime, probably the day after some more bad news comes out about Biden and Hunter. Magically, all of these troubles began just as the campaign season began. But there's nothing to see here. There is no deep state. There is no puppet master pulling all of the strings. What are you, crazy? And we shouldn't be paying attention to what the Department of Justice was doing just last week, should we? I mean, this is Sam Bankman-Fried. He was walking out of federal court last week after the DOJ decided to drop the charges related to campaign finance violations. But it was a pittance. I mean, it really didn't affect anything. Is it against the law to allegedly use stolen money to finance your favorite campaigns? I mean, is that really a law? Well, apparently not, if you're a Democrat who gave nearly $40 million for the midterms and had actually pledged $1 billion. All stolen money, but don't worry, there's nothing to see here. He doesn't need to be charged with anything. There was also nothing to see last week at Hunter Biden's court hearing. During the hearing, Special Assistant U.S. Attorney Leo Weiss was forced to reveal paragraph 15 of Hunter Biden's plea agreement. Have you seen it? It specifically states the government would not prosecute Hunter on any crimes surrounding the tax violations he was pleading guilty to. These crimes encompass all of the questions we have about Ukraine, Burisma, China, Romania, Russia, and with with immunity. I mean, guess who else that protects? Okay, his dad, but that's a coincidence.
I don't think so. It's intentional. Very much so. But don't you see how the media spin that story here? They say there's no evidence. There's no evidence. There's no evidence. I mean, Mr. Biden is a weatherman. I mean, he was on the phone. Of course, he was invited to talk to his son business partners. And he was asking about the weather. How's the weather in China? How's the weather? I mean, 20 different times he got on the phone with his son's business partners to talk about the weather. Nice. He's a weatherman now.
Sounds crazy. You know, it even shocked the judge. She's been around for a while. She asked the DOJ, I've never seen anything like this. Is there any precedent for something like this? You know what Hunter's attorney said? Yeah, no, I'm not aware of any, Your Honor. Wow. What a mistake. What an oversight. What a coincidence. The government was giving the president's son blanket immunity from serious crimes that could involve the president of the United States taking money from foreign countries. Many are enemies. And nothing like this has ever been done before. And the DOJ admitted it. Wow. What a coincidence. Now, I know what you're thinking. It kind of looks like deep state operatives just outed by, right in front of the entire country. But please remember, there is no deep state. Everything I just described to you had to do with winning elections. They tried and failed in 2016, but that didn't deter them. There were no consequences. Everything we're seeing now, including Trump's latest indictment, is about 2024, not the past. Now, I'm not telling you this stuff to blackpill you, because you have to realize you have the power still. You have all of the real power. You just don't believe it. The deep state was forcibly exposed last week in court. Does that happen without people like you and me speaking out every time we see this stuff? I don't think it does. The exposure needs to continue, because if we don't, we will lose. And they have a plan, and they have been prepping for years. But if you happen to vote conservative, let me ask you, do we have a plan? Is anybody working on this? I'll show you where we stand next.
I'm going to put a link in the description below for you to listen to the rest of this. I mean, he went completely berserk with that one. I mean, totally. The rant was amazing. Great. He knows how to talk the talk. I mean, Glenbeck's been doing this for a long time. So where do we go from here, friends? I honestly feel like some of these political stuff that are happening, well, that's very normal. From the realm of politics, as we are told, politics is downstream of culture, but I'll take it one step further. Culture is downstream of theology. So the condition of our society is a reflection of our spirituality. And what's happening in the light of politics, as you kind of peel off the layers and so on, you will discover there is a lot of greed and a lot of desire for power, control. And talking about the deep state, just listen to this. Follow the money. Okay? The guys who are in control of your finances, the guys who are giving you the loans, the guys who are managing your retirements, these are the guys you need to pay attention to. But not just these guys. These is the one side of the issue. But part of the deep state, I believe, has to do with some people who are either, the people who are hungry for power and control. They exist. Call it conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat, whatever it is you want to refer me. I don't know. But when I do look at what's happening, even in the light of scripture, it's very obvious there is a dark power working behind the scene to either strip me and yourself from our freedoms. Mr. Trump is a problem and they need to lock him up. Why? He gets in their way. Simple as that. He really does. He gets in our way. He's not controllable. He has a mind of his own. He's not afraid to go against the grain. This is why Trump is in trouble. Friends, I could say a lot, but I'll tell you this. At this stage of the world, friends, we need wisdom. We do. We need discernment and we need understanding. We don't need to be fearful of what's going on. What's going on is supposed to be happening, but ultimately there's someone who is really in charge. His name is Jesus. He sits on the throne. He is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He has the final say. However, we need to pay attention, be prayerful, vote wisely, informed. But I will say, don't put your confidence in men. Put your confidence in God. Now, they're going to do their corruptions. Some of these people are going to try. But they can only get away with so much. They can only go so far. So there is a point when God says this far, but no further. Until then, let us watch and wait. I'm going to put a link in the description below for the rest of the video. Go check it out. I think Glenbeck did an excellent job with this one. Give me your thought and perspective. What do you think is going on with the deep state? What is happening behind the scene here? Why is Mr. Trump being indicted over and over again? I'm sure you have a different perspective. I would like to hear from that. Share your thought and perspective with me. Link in the description below. Once again, like and subscribe to the page if you happen to be new. Click the bell icon for more. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.